Ahoy, hoy. Tell you what, I'll move it here for now. Oh, I see myself. I am live. Is there anyone actually on the chat? Oh, is it there? Oh, hello. Oh, there's 3 people. No, we're gonna create a loop. The audio's coming out of here. Yeah. There's 3 people. Here we go. Whoa. Okay, hi folks. So. Here we go. Whoa. Okay, hi folks. So. Here we go. Okay. So the way we're gonna do this, let's put on a wee bit of music. So don't get any copyright struck or anything. Alright. So has everyone just been like super quiet in the chat? Or not everyone's here? Say hi in the chat if you can hear me. Just getting all the technically stuff sorted. Anybody saying hi? Is there something weird going on? Is it? Oh, wait. Yeah, I know, right? Member Barry? I'm like, why is it so quiet in here? Hi, Member Barry. Yeah, really weird. Anyway. Apparently we're here. I mean, the YouTube algorithm is just so weird. Where it's just like... hold on, I'm just going to do a wee post on the Islandsta. Yeah, it's very strange altogether. Let me just see now. If you have any questions while you're here, Member Barry, since you're apparently the only one here. So, apparently at the moment, concurrent viewers, 5. I mean, usually at the start of a stream at least, there's a bit more. What's on the agenda, boss? Well, I was hoping to build a Gundam airstrike, Ale airstrike Gundam Omni Forcer Mobile Suit GAT X 105. But I was also, you know, hoping for a whole pile of questions and conversations too while I do this. So, I mean, hey, if you've got loads of questions and you're right here, I mean, you're more than welcome to lead the way in all of the questions. I am is live. Oh, that's hilarious. Right. Let's see. I'm just posting this live on a couple of different platforms. Oh, okay. Opinion. Oh, there we go. The conversation has begun. So nearly there now. Yeah, I'll just get them up on all of the socials. So opinion on migrant plantation protests. I assume, are we chatting Israel Palestine here, or have I missed an episode or two? Because that is something that has been happening in my wonderful baby brain of it all, because kids will do that. I mean, opinion on migrant plant. Oh, migrant. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I gotcha. Um, the events in recent years, East Wall. Yeah, inside Canada. I think it is disgraceful. Simple as. I mean, I actually did up. I had this on my last live stream, but I had this trash in my posts last time. Niall McConnell. Thankfully, this douche canoe did not get elected into our local government because he's a fascist. But yeah, I think it is completely misplaced anger. And it's not just an Irish problem. It's, it is, the housing crisis is not unique to Ireland. It is in fact quite widespread, and so because of that, like, it is a much bigger problem, and migrants are being blamed, but it's the mismanagement, but also the lack of wealth tax, basically. The wealthy have all of the money at the moment, and there's even bigger transfer of power and of money towards much bigger power towards the. Oh, and actually, this music is surprisingly distracting. There you go. I'll put something else on. Oh, not audible, lad. You're welcome. Okay, there we go. Hey, James Linton is here. Hi, James Linton. There we go. Conversely, labour supply outpaces demand, so cost of labour wages decrease. It seems elementary to me that with record levels of population inflows, cost of housing will increase as demand outpaces supply. Yes, but the major problem is that there are so many silly, awkward things that are either standing in the way of new houses getting built. A big problem is that Ireland, and similar problem over in the UK, is that they have completely outsourced it to private contractors as opposed to, doing it themselves with, like, council houses and stuff. And because of this, the incentives for it basically seems to be more profitable to build like luxury houses, luxury apartments, and so the incentive is just not there. The money incentive, I mean, the moral incentive should be there, but the money incentive just isn't there, and so it's frustrating that seemingly is the case, but however, but on top of that, the rental market is completely skewed and is completely banjaxed. Because the wealthy have so much wealth, they've been able to invest more of their excess wealth into property. And, there's a great YouTuber, if you've, well, doubt he'd want to be called a YouTuber, but he's not even an economist, but he's a trader by trade. But Gary Stevenson, he's an English guy, but he's fantastic in explaining a lot of this kind of stuff because he understands it. He's, as I said, he's been a trader for years, but interestingly, real working class background, and so he gets the disconnect. He gets kind of what's going on the ground, as opposed to a lot of the kind of traders have no idea and are like oblivious to a lot of the kind of basic things that are happening. So because of that, he basically explains, you give a working class person, $5 grand, 10 grand, they're going to go out and spend it. They're going to spend it on things that they need, that they have been needing. Like, if you were to give me 10 grand right now, I'd have it spent tomorrow, because between bills and loans and credit cards and stuff like that, you'd have it spent, done. Whereas you give a millionaire, 10 grand, and they're like, oh sweet, just pocket it and away into the vault it goes, and it becomes invested in some. Like, when you got too much money that you don't know what to do with, you're gonna invest it in the likes of property and stuff, and it's, yeah, sure, on one hand it's the dream of kind of go, oh well, it's passive income, it's great, but at the other hand, you're completely destroying the country. Like, well, we're providing housing. It's like, yeah, but you're you're taking houses off the market that a lot of young families, a lot of young people have been trying to get on the property ladder and have been unable to get on the property ladder because there are millionaires out there with spare, and not even billionaires out there with a couple of spare million who can just throw money at a property and infinitely outbid, someone who's managed to get a mortgage for maybe a couple of $100 grand, and they're like, oh, hopefully we'll get this, and someone just sweeps in and goes, oh, just offer another $100 grand and away we go, and you can't compete with that, and people aren't being able to compete with that, and so people into their 30s are finding themselves not being able to get on the property ladder. I've been lucky, I've said this on the live stream before. I've been lucky that, we've been able to buy a house, but again, it was a serious fixer-upper that we put a hell of a lot of work into, and we lived in here in this, what was a shed at the time. I mean, we had the nice blue walls and stuff, but it wasn't a big office studio at that point. But it's small space to be living in for a year and a half. But again, we're lucky in that way. But so many people on it. And the way that mortgages work too is that banks are working out, how long you're gonna, banks aren't gonna give a mortgage to just anybody, and particularly the older you get, the more the bank is kind of sitting there going, are you going to die before you finish paying this? So there's all kind of life insurances and all that kind of stuff, but they're weighing up how effectively you can get it. So the older you get, the trickier it is to get a mortgage, or the bigger the payments will be, because they want you to have it paid off before you die. So otherwise it becomes a bad debt, or so yeah. Anyway, let's see what you have to say. Hey, Windows XP mapping, you're here. Boom. Thank you so much. I don't know, maybe it just didn't post up a thing. What's the word? Notification. Oh well. But here we are. Remember, Barry's keeping me company. And in Ireland, they're building modular. Okay, so conversely, labour. They're building modular houses and settlement centres for migrants. How many migrants does Ireland have the obligation to house, employ, etc.? with its small population and economy, especially when they're often economic migrants from Nigeria, for example, from the south of Nigeria, where there isn't any war. Most countries, of course, are poorer than Ireland. Is this alone a ground for asylum claims by their residents? Very true. With private investors, profits are socialised, with losses are private. With major corporations, too big to fail profits are private, while losses are socialised with bailouts. Absolutely. Investment as housing should be regulated as a threat to national welfare. It should be looked upon as a social ill. Those who purchase, for example, concert tickets, gaming consoles, etc., and sit on them without improving them and sell them for inflated prices are called scalpers and universally derided. I know, right? It should be the case with massive multilateral investment firms who sit on housing, sit on land, suffocate the life of the nation. So my major point is, like, I don't think there's much of a point in complaining about migrants. In fact, migrants are a red herring when it comes to the problems, because basically people, namely, particularly the far right, are channeling people's anger towards migrants, because it's so much easier to take out your anger and frustration on a more vulnerable community rather than the powers that be, because you're like, well, at least, we can take it out on them. At least we can get rid of them. At least, we can get the powers that be to turn on them instead, but the reality of it is that there is the capacity to do a lot more. But the problem is that it's a simple solution. Sadly, it's like, well, if it's so simple, then why is it not being done? It's a simple solution in that you need to tax the rich, and like the mega rich, and they have paid a hell of a lot more tax in the past, and people are like, but the counter argument to that, a major problem is a lot of politicians are very wealthy, or at the very least have very wealthy bodies and stuff. But they're like, well, you're going to chase the wealthy out of the country. Why? It's a great place to live. Why, and not only that, but if they have a whole pile of property, so they're just going to leave their property. Or it's like, oh, well, if they're taxed so much, then they might have to sell some of their property. Exactly. That's the idea. If they are at a point at the moment in wealth where they are able to basically hoard a whole ton of property that they do not need, because there are many people out there who need this property, and they're just sitting on it, as a bit of more extra passive income. Happy days. It's like, if they need to sell on some of that excess property, that's the idea, because there's plenty of people out there who want to buy it, who've been trying to get on the property ladder for years. And again, this is not an exclusively Irish problem, and they'll have you convinced that the situation here is this unique thing, and people are, it's this Irish thing, the Irish and the bailout, and that happened in so many different places. The common denominator is that the wealthy are not paying their fair share, and the working class are collapsing under the weight of the burden of everything. Let's see. I only found out the notification just a few seconds ago. Oh, hey, Martian Cookie Hunter, how are you? Hi. And if the government favours the people over corporate interests, it can both regulate housing investment and stop mass migration. You're live on June 30th. Yes, I was like, I missed Friday. I had it scheduled in, but for whatever reason, I may have gotten distracted on Friday evening, or I'm not sure. But, well, apparently I didn't do the live stream on Friday evening. It's meant to be the last Friday of every month. But I squeezed it in. It's the last day of June. So here we are. But yeah, I mean, I just think there's a lot more just government regulation that's needed. And I mean, sure, like regulate people who are coming into the country. I mean, like that's what immigration processes are for anyway. And like, I mean, I'm not an expert in all that kind of stuff, but like, just the demonization of migrants, especially when Ireland has had a very long history of immigration ourselves. I just think it's just so disingenuous for so many Irish people. And, particularly when you got Irish people who are chatting away about, their proud Irishness, and, oh, sure, I've got cousins over in Boston. And it's like, yeah, you do. And they migrated. Oh, well, they did it legally. It's like, probably not all of them. Like, I know at least a couple of folks throughout the years who I know have moved over to America illegally and over time, managed to get, residency and different things. But like, yeah. Sadly, there's an element of racism with it as well, which is frustrating. It's so I've been working on a project at the moment, which I should be finished now in the next couple of weeks. Well, I need to be finished because it's premiering on July 20th. It's called Fido. The first 2 years projects of it are actually on this channel at the moment if you want to go back and watch them, but they are stories of young people who have come to Ireland from different countries, and it's important to explore their stories. So I've done several workshops with these young people, these teenagers, and found their stories and worked out kind of what they want to say and what they want to talk about, and then I tell those stories through animation, in collaboration with them and their thoughts and ideas and stuff. And like these are important stories to tell, in that, it reminds you of the humanity of these migrants. Like, we love to, they're people. They're people who are coming from another country and coming to live here because here is a good place to live. Sadly, at the moment, there are a lot of difficulties in living here, but it's not their fault, and, if you've got economic migrants who are coming here for work, or you've got, refugees who are coming here because of war, like, none of this is their fault, I don't think. And like, when people come out with this rubbish of Ireland is full, Ireland had 8 million people in 1845, and it's never had that since. Like, there is room, and I mean, I know England is painfully densely populated, but like, England is painfully densely populated. Like, you can make room, like and also, if people aren't willing to pull up the britches and actually engage and do something about climate change, if they want to just sit there and complain, well, China's not doing anything, so we're just not going to bother. If that's your stance, then you need to live with the consequences of that. And some of those consequences are more people moving from the global south because climate change is destroying where they live. Like in the Middle East, there's a lot of farmland and stuff that's just becoming less and less viable. That's part of the reason why there's so much fighting on over there. Like, they talk about religion, but like, it's about water. Like, it's about like basic things like that. Like, I mean, Iraq basically isn't working anymore because because the Tigris and the Euphrates, the two rivers that once fueled the cradle of civilization, because the Brits and the French drew the lines 100 years ago, basically Turkey and Syria have irrigation schemes that basically break that river. By the time it gets to Iraq, it's polluted. It's not viable for irrigation schemes and stuff. And like, so all of these kind of things is just like, we think we've got control of the planet, but we really don't, and like, we think we oh, well, by doing this, as long as what we're doing here works, everywhere else, they'll, like, it's all connected. It's all connected, Butterfly effect. What happens on the other side of the world will affect here. That's just a fact. And you've got people now who have had, years of increasingly bad harvests, and they're just like, we can't live here anymore. Like, this is my homeland, but we physically, like, we can't live here anymore. Like, we can't make a living here anymore, And then, like, those rising tensions add to, potential escalating violence and stuff. And there's all sorts of stuff going on. But, like, a place like Ireland is much more, might be more viable. And, and as more people come, in the same way as, an Irish community set up over in Boston, it's like, oh, sure, I already know so-and-so who lives over there. And so, communities are set up. And, like, I don't think that's something to resist, because that's part of the human story. Like, that's part of who we are as a human race, of moving and migrating and learning from each other and building with each other. And I think this selfish, oh no, this is our land, get away. Particularly given our history of being colonized, having our land stolen from us. I think it says a lot where, if people are willing to share and live and let live and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, let's see. Racism. Well, it's racist, isn't it, to want Ireland for the Irish, to want to preserve the Irish people. This is a very hateful idea. Well, it's racist, isn't it, to want Ireland for the Irish, to want to preserve the Irish people. But, like, I mean, and like, in some way, like, what is the Irish people? I mean, yes, I know what the Irish people is, but that is an ever-growing, ever-changing concept in itself, and has been for centuries and millennia. When people talk about, the Irish people and the obsession with, like, oh, well, ancient Gaelic, Celtic culture, and Gaelic, and Celtic. And it's like, yes, that is a strong core of, who we have been culturally. But, like, there is also the Norse influence. There is also the very strong Norman influence here in Ireland. And over time, different cultural influences. And, hey, like, I mean, I'm speaking English. We're all speaking English. I hate that my connection with my own native language is as poor as it is. It's better than some, but, the effects of colonialism run deep. And the fact that English is my first language is part of it. But, this idea of what is Irish and what is, like, the idea of what is Irish 100 years ago was different to what it is now, as it was 200 years ago, as it was 300 years ago. You know, like, the ideas of these things change, and so there's a subtle difference between, say, the likes of patriotism and nationalism. Where patriotism, you know, you're proud of your country. I am patriotic. I am proud of my country. I'm proud of, you know, what it stands for, and, you know, what it has achieved, and a lot of kind of its history and stuff. Whereas nationalism is not just I am proud of who we are and what we are, but also that we're better than everyone else. And often what nationalism will lead to is a supremacy complex of going, well, I mean, we're clearly the best, so maybe we deserve to be, you know, in control of blah, blah, blah. And, you know, everybody else needs to listen to us, you know. And like the Irish people will survive, because as long as there's an Ireland, there will be an Irish people. You know, regardless of where they have come from, you know, if you're born in Ireland, you're Irish. Or, you know, if you're adopted into Ireland, you know, you lived in Ireland long enough, if you're sitting there chatting with even with a hint of an Irish accent, and you're, you know, using the phrases and getting the jokes, it's like, you're Irish, you know, like, that's part of it too. That's part of cultural exchange. That's part of cultural growth. Like, you know, I don't think that Irish culture is particularly under threat. You know, I mean, you know, you're chatting away about, you know, Irish culture. It's like, you know, you take the country back 50 years, and it's like, what? So that was better, where the country was like in the tight grip of the Catholic Church and all of the horrors and abuses that went on in that. Like, you know, what do you want? Like, I mean, the music is there, the music is preserved. We have Conran na Gaeilge, we have the Flaceol on the hair, and like these things are in place to make sure that these elements of Irish heritage are there. Like, I mean, it's part of it, you know. Young people coming to Ireland learn about this stuff and integrate and bring their own stuff with them, and you know, like, that's how culture works. That's how culture grows. You know, I don't know what else to say. It's like, it's part of it. All right, let's see. So, fun fact, I am 11% Irish in terms of ancestry. Oh, there you go. I'm mostly Scottish at 58%. There you go. I did one of those tests, and I am like 100% northwest of Ireland. Even though my dad was born in Scotland, his parents were both born here in Donegal, so... the joys of Ireland. That's why I married a Canadian who does not seemingly have any Irish heritage, so... let's see. Irish people went legally, often as second-class citizens, to America, to Australia, and built up those countries. So Irish must accept mass migration from the third world. Ireland was a third world country. Like, you know, like, when people left Ireland in the second half of the 19th century over to America and Canada and whatnot, they were leaving the depths of poverty. They were like, some people were like leaving mud huts if they had managed to survive that journey. Like, and many of them, well, fair enough, kind of in the kind of point of you know, the Ellis Island stuff, where you rack up and go, hey, we're here. But like, beyond that, you know, people still go, like, I mean, you know, in Dublin Airport, they have the pre-clearance, where they literally have American immigration police in Dublin, where basically you do all your passport control and immigration control in Dublin rather than doing it over on American soil. And, you know, it's framed as this great thing of, oh, we have just such a special relationship with Dublin, or with America, and it's so nice. And it's like, yeah, I mean, my theory is that it's just a lot cheaper to turn the patties away um, in Dublin rather than having to fly them back. But yeah, let's see. There's an entire island that's about to sink into the ocean right now. Yep, over in the Pacific. They've basically called it. They're like, yeah, no, we're done. They've withdrawn. I can't remember the name of the island, but like I think they've withdrawn their sovereign statehood from the United Nations. We're no longer a nation because our island is soon to be no more. You know, so get out while you can, all our citizens. Like that's where we're at in the world. Like, you know, and people are like, oh, but why do I have to eat less meat? But I like my burgers. It's like, oh my god. Well, simple overpopulation and permanent economic crisis is developing in countries. Overpopulation is not the big problem that people think it is. It's I'm not a sociologist. I'm not a demograph population expert. But the whole thing again, the overpopulation idea is a bit of a red herring. Because like there is capacity to house, to feed, to basically, you know, I mean, it sounds so airy fairy pie in the sky, but like there is the potential of having a utopian world. But the problem is it's not profitable for everyone, you know? And so like, you know, like it's not profitable, it's not going to make like billionaires out of some people. So like, no. I'd prefer to extract wealth from poor people than raise people up, actually, because poor people are so much easier to exploit. Yes, Turks are taking more than their fair share of water, and the Ethiopians are trying to do the same with the Nile. You know, exactly. It's almost as if, you know, national borders kind of create all sorts of problems, and that, you know, if we kind of dealt in a much more global cooperation-y way, then, you know. But Ireland can't take tens of millions of Iraqis. Are tens of millions of Iraqis coming to Ireland? You know? Like, are they? I mean, I agree that, you know, in a very short space of time, that is not a thing. But that is what immigration policy is there for. And, you know, that's what visas are for. And that's like, you know, like people make out like it's this absolute... I mean, and yes, there are problems, and there's a lot of people like intense and stuff now, and it is a mess. The system is a mess right now. But like, it's just... I remember watching, it was this like futurist, you know, predicting what the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years are going to look like. And this would have been in the early 2000s they showed this. And I remember, and it stuck with me, and I am seeing it unfold, where they said, we will see in years to come fighting not over oil, but fighting over water. You know, because if the climate continues to heat up, it's going to get warm. It's going to get hot. And like that's the long and the short of it. Like, and And when and when people talk about these people coming over, like they talk about them as if they're useless. They talk about them as if they're these like burden on society. It's like these are smart, intelligent people. I know they both made the same thing, but like these are intelligent people, skilled people who are coming over with all sorts of life experience. Also, and it's like they don't want to just like sit in the house and do nothing. Like they want to be productive. They want like. Oh, like just this image of foreigners, of migrants, this dehumanization, and like I mean, you see it too, like with like Islamophobia, where it's like, oh, they're bringing their religion, and it's like, guys, calm down about the religion. It's fine. It's yet another religion. It's fine. Like, let's see, consider Syrians who had to pay thousands of dollars to be smuggled across Europe. It's horrendous. It's terrible. And nobody should have to leave their homes. Nobody should. If you want to stay in the country that you call home, that you've been born in, that that you have connection to, like, you shouldn't be driven from your own home. But people are being driven from their own homes, either through economic factors, war, climate, and then we're over here in Ireland sitting there going, oh well, we're not going to do anything about climate. What's the point in doing things about climate change? Like, people who are complaining about all these migrants and yet are thoroughly backing continued fossil fuels, not so much Ireland with the whole war thing, but like say in Britain and stuff, where they're insane about, migrants. It's like, well, stop bombing them then. Stop, backing all these wars. Obviously it's more complicated than that, but let's see, who have higher education proficiency in English, etc. I mean, people can learn English, like, it's a thing. Let's see, a bit of music, loser music. Oh, we all enjoy summer. Nice. Aaron Dobbs, you make amazing educational content. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you. Or Aaron or Aaron, I'm not sure. Well, was it selfish when the Native Americans resisted? Let me see. Who have higher education and proficiency in English? Oh, well, was it selfish when the Native Americans resisted mass migration? Aha! Great question. Great question. So a big difference is that migrants aren't showing up here with guns saying, get off your land. Like, there's a big difference between the migration of people and colonization. Colonization is actively going and stealing someone else's land and saying, this is my land now. There is a big difference. And in the same way as like what's going on between Israel and Palestine right now, where Zionists have historically stolen a whole pile of Palestinian land, and showed up at gunpoint and were like, get out. And Palestinians resisted, but that's not happening here. Like, wise up. That's not happening. That is not the case here. It's not an invasion. And the Normans themselves came from fusion of Norse and the French, and so this isn't a legitimate category. How is it not a legitimate category? The French came from the Gauls and the Romans, the Franks, so not a legitimate category. The Celtic culture replaced other European cultures, bell bakers and so on. So these cultures didn't exist before the European invasion 6,000 years ago. It's not a legitimate category. No nation has the right to define itself or actually exist. Since nations are social constructs, they can define themselves. No? Right, Ireland continuing to... Oh, we're just catching up here on some of the things that I was saying before. Since nations are social constructs, they can define themselves. No, yeah. Right, Ireland continuing to exist as a home for the people will lead to Irish supremacy and Irish imperialism. Not necessarily Irish imperialism, but possibly. Although one could argue, look at what we do with the travelling community. And now we're like, why can't you just settle? Why can't you just be like us? You know, there's a lot to be said there. Yes, I'm an American, and I've watched all 3 seasons of Father Ted, so that makes me Irish. I'm entitled to free housing in the migrant plantations now. I'm entitled to vote in Irish elections. Absolutely, they're the criteria. Too right. No, they're not. But you speak as though it's Ireland's problem, Ireland's responsibility. I don't think it's Ireland's responsibility. I mean, I don't think it is, but that's kind of the point in generosity, in humanity. Like, you don't have to be obligated to do something in order to do it. You know? Like, you can do something sometimes because it's the right thing to do, or you can do something sometimes because you're like, well, you know, maybe these people need help, because there was a time in our past when we needed help. So, you know. But yeah, But yeah, I mean, what, the French came from like the Romans and the Franks, so not a legitimate category. But what does that mean? You know, I mean, that, you know, like when you break it all down, and like when you really start breaking down like the whole thing of different cultures and cultural identities, they exist, but at the same time, like the cultural divisions and stuff, like they're just so superficial, like in a lot of ways. And yeah, something, you know, you could, so if that's the case, then why don't you just join the United Kingdom again, John, if you don't think it matters? I mean, obviously it is a lot more complicated and complex than that. And there are different ways that people define their culture and define their, you know, categorize their groupings, but it's like, you know, I just don't kind of get what you mean by so not a legitimate category. Like, in what way? They are categories. It's like, because they came from this, yeah, and then they became this. Like, you know, the Normans, yeah, they're French, but they're also Nordic. Yeah, your point. Right, Ireland continues to exist. So yeah, no, but you speak as though. All right. Windows XP mapping. Hey, have you ever considered, or have you already, researching Irish soldiers in the American Civil War, like the fight in 69th, for example? Absolutely, yes. I do want to kind of do a wee bit more kind of exploring on that kind of Irish diaspora within kind of wars like that. It'd be very interesting. I think that is certainly something. A film, Martian Cookie Hunter says, a full Mad Max style future where we're fighting over scraps of water. You play your cards wrong. So remember, right? Well, everyone has life experience and they're not being admitted on the basis of their intelligence or qualifications. The average IQ is lower in the developing world. IQ is BS. My God. You know, it like IQ is this. I don't know all of the ins and outs of of why IQ is BS off the top of my head, but it is. With Gardner's theory of various different intelligences and basically what we deem as intelligence and all of these kind of different things. That if you're going by IQ, you're looking at a very slanted number and a very slanted way of looking at things and looking at people. Sub-Saharan 60 or 70 in the Middle East, 80 or 85. Yeah, because they're busy not friggin' working on all of the, what my guess would be, if you're presented with an IQ test, it's like, right, well, I don't need to know this stuff. Like, I've much more urgent things to worry about right now. But it's the exact same way as, like, if you were to go back, to the Stone Age and present people with an IQ test and go, hey, oh, well, you're clearly not intelligent because you didn't score highly on this IQ test. And it's like, well, I mean, it's your parameters that you're setting, And whereas, like, people in the Stone Age, there were geniuses then too who recognized different patterns and weather and nature and knew how to build things and knew how to harness fire and reproduce fire and and knew how the solstices worked and how the celestial bodies moved and worked, and maybe they may or not have known that the astronomy behind it, but they certainly knew the mechanics of how things moved around and what way they did, because they were smart enough to be able to build things like Newgrange, and these ancient megalithic tombs that line up perfectly with these different sunrises and sunsets on very specific dates. Like, they were smart people. Like, and just this this thing of, oh, well, they're clearly not as intelligent as us. It's like like, that's stupid. If you think that there aren't intelligent people in the developing world, like, that's stupidity right there. I'm sorry that might be a bit blunt, but I'm just frustrated at people constantly undervaluing and underestimating people who don't come from the Western world, because the Western world's so cool because we've got iPads and shit. When I mentioned that they pay to be smuggled across the Mediterranean, etc., that they come with mobile phones. Because we live in a modern world. Like, I remember years ago as well, like about 10 years ago, there's all these like protests going on in Ireland. I think, but they were trying to bring in a water tax, and it was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and there was just a huge backlash against water taxes, and the Labour leader was kind of like, for all these people complaining about their difficult lives and stuff, they all seem to have very, very fancy cameras and very fancy phones and stuff. I was like, that's part of living in a society. I've seen homeless people sitting there with smartphones, and it's oh, well, could you? It's like, no, because that is a lifeline. That is an investment. That is, it's not a case of, oh, well, why don't you just sell your phone then if you're that poor? Or what, it's like, because this is worth more than the money that it is worth. It is a tool that can do so much more than what you could do with, fair enough, you can't eat your phone, but like, again, I think it's a bit of a red herring. Like, we live in a modern world. People are going to have phones. Point with that is people are often not... people who come are not often the poorest. Yeah, because the poorest can't afford to move. Like, this is the thing. Like, the poorest are the ones who are really, really, really suffering. suffering. The poorest are the ones who can't even afford to get out of Dodge. And that really sucks for them, and so yeah, like it is middle classes that are in some places, depending on where you are, but like yeah, sure, it's not all like quote unquote poor people who are moving, but like what why does that surprise you? But they're living in a country where things are horrendously expensive. Like inflation is through the roof, and the seeming and because poverty is so high, crime is so high, people are getting kidnapped. It's a very, very dangerous place to live, and so they want to get out of there. It's sad that that has to be the case. And you might be sitting there go, oh well, maybe it's their own fault if it's if there's so much crime and stuff, and it's like the scars of colonialism run deep, and you're like, oh well, here we go, they're blaming colonialism again. Yes, we are, actually, especially when it comes to Africa. Like let's see. But we have assaults, much higher crime rates, political organization, Northern organization, Rotterdam and Cologne, radical Islamic rallies in European cities. Are they radical Islamic rallies, or are they just shouting in Arabic? Like, if I had a penny for every time someone was like terrified of saying, oh, they're gonna bring Sharia law, who's going to let that happen? And also, why are people? I mean, I know why people are so scared of Muslims, but it's like, seriously, most Muslims just want to live their lives. Most people just want to live their lives, without getting hassled for who they are. Like, just, ugh. Alright. Process is different, but the result will be the same. That's what you just said about the Irish. The Irish are people of diversity, of multiple influences, so don't have the right to preserve itself. I mean, you can twist it all you want, and you can go back and forth, but hey, if I sometimes end up contradicting myself, that's because it's a very complex topic, and and I don't necessarily have all of the answers. That's why these discussions are important. And I know I call it a discussion. I'm responding to your comments on a live stream, so and of course there is a difference in dynamic of power in that I'm the one on the camera, and I'm people are more inclined to listen to me. All 8 concurrent viewers right now. I don't know. Say what you want about subscribers on YouTube. Good luck. Anyway. Martian Cookie Hunter, I think they've come up with better ways to measure intelligence now. Yes, they have. Intelligence is relative. After all, if you look Leonardo da Vinci and brought him to modern times, he probably wouldn't have a clue about anything. Yeah. I mean, he wouldn't, he would show up and obviously be like, oh, what's this? But he's not stupid either. That's the thing. He would crack on and slowly but surely adapt, as anybody does. Obviously, it would be a huge culture shock. Probably be delighted at how open the world is to gay people now. Well, not even that acceptance seems to be swinging backwards. Happy Pride weekend, everybody. So, of course, there are, but it's a problem of averages. If the average is 100 and the standard deviation is 15 as with IQ. 2% of people will score above 130. This is typical distribution. If the average is lower, the frequency of geniuses will be much lower. And it's not like they're being examined for intelligence or for anything when they come to Europe or to America. They invite themselves in most cases. I mention that they're not the poorest because you say that these are people who have lost harvest due to climate change, can't afford to live anymore. You got me. You got me. Oh! Ha! Like, I get frustrated with these kind of discussions sometimes, when, you're like pointing at, and again, and don't get me wrong, it is important to point out contradictions, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, there's this kind of thing of, well, if you said this one thing, then this other thing can't be true, therefore your entire argument, I don't have to listen to it, out the window. I had a whole rant on this on TikTok the other day where it's like, some people just, they don't want to, and I'm not accusing you of this because I do appreciate your comments, and you've kept me company since the start of this live stream. So I do appreciate that very much so. And we've been on an hour now. Oh my God. Where did that hour go? But yeah. Let's see. Windows X mapping. By the way, if you want a good American Civil War artist who does Irish songs from really both sides, I'd recommend David Kincaid. Ooh, good shout. I will keep that in mind. But I said nothing about your entire argument being wrong. I'm just pointing out the contradiction. That's fair. That's fair. You're very welcome. I don't understand why we only have 8 viewers here. I know. God knows. I've had many more with only 1,000 subscribers. I have no idea. Oh well. That is weird. There's only 8 of us here. Yeah. So with that, actually, I may or may not build this. I don't know. There'd certainly be a lot less chatting if I start building this. But with that, actually, well, there's 4 if you count me, Windows XP. Maybe it's a notification issue. Yeah, possibly. I mean, YouTube is. I mean, I do it because I love being able to produce educational content for people, for young people, for any people really, and I love to be able to help people learn about history and all of that. It's very important to me, and it's it's a good thing that I like to be able to do. But YouTube is making it very difficult, very frustrating, where I have 200 and just under 250,000 subscribers, but it doesn't seem like that, and like I'll put out a video, and depending on what it is, and the Israel-Palestine video has technically been doing well. It's been doing well than a lot of other ones have, but it's closing in, I think, on about 100,000 views. And yeah, and again, I know I shouldn't compare myself to these ones who are posting more regularly and stuff, but you'll see someone who'll have a similar, maybe 300,000 subscribers, and they'll post something up and be a wee bit more pop culture-y, fair enough, but and it'll be on 100,000 by the end of the day, or it'll be on 100,000 after a couple hours, and that is very frustrating. It is very frustrating, and I don't want to give up on this, because I love this, and I love this platform. With all 8, there's 9 concurrent viewers right now. But there's 12 now. Yes, and it's gone back to there we go. But yeah, so for anybody watching this afterwards, you can let me know if you get notifications or not. I mean, I know that I'm not like posting constantly. I mean, I do the daily history posts, which are fun, and they kind of get a nice wee buzz in comments. But like it it's tough, and this is like, if I didn't love it, if I didn't love making history videos, I would have stopped a long time ago, because YouTube's just not been working with me for a long while, and it's very frustrating. That's why I'm constantly trying to push Patreon, and I'm like, look, if you really want to support my work, patreon.com/John D Ruddy, or you can become a member here. Like it is frustrating, and I know I'm preaching to the converted because you're here and you're chatting. Although if you haven't supported me on Patreon yet, then maybe I am not preaching to the converted yet, but that's up to you. Jazz 900G, love your videos, John. It was your World War I video that got me fully into history. Well, that's what I like to hear. I love so many people over the years who have said you're the one that got me into history, and like, I am so glad that if I have been that for someone, that if I have got someone into history, your president's video got me into American history. There you go. I'll tell you what got me into American history, actually, was Forrest Gump. I saw Forrest Gump when I was quite young. Younger than I should have seen Forrest Gump, but still, I loved it. But I was fascinated with all of the different presidents and all of the different kind of little bits of history that dotted, and I didn't know most of the history. Like, I had no idea where Vietnam was. Like, I would have been 9 or 10 watching it, maybe, or 8 or 9, or about that. But like, there was just something about the different presidents, because you had JFK, then you had LBJ, then you had Nixon. There's just the three of them in that film. Yeah, I don't think any of the others actually show up. Yeah, felt like more. But still, so I went again, and I met the President of the United States again. But yeah, that even just kind of sparked a little bit in my mind, and just the first this president, then that president, and then that president. History is like a box of chocolates. Absolutely. I adore Forrest Gump, my favorite movie as an autistic person. The movie always really struck a chord with me, how Forrest Gump was able to do so much with his life in spite of his disability. Absolutely. That's so true. Speaking of someone with a low IQ, according to the movie, below average, whatever. He was neurodivergent, and he was quite happy for the most part. And that's important. I love that film. Like, I mean, it certainly has. There's a lot to criticize about it, and I have listened to plenty of criticisms about that film. Like, one of the ones that is quite valid, but also kind of funny in the way where basically Gump embodies so much of the black experience in America, where it's like what is it? I mean, like, he faces discrimination in Alabama, but obviously it's for his legs at that time. But you know, he manages to go to college under a scholarship, playing American football, which has historically been a very strong route for a lot of African Americans, and then even just as, you know, running, you know, as marathon running, and involvement in like the shrimp. I'm explaining this really badly, but like there's a whole deep dive about how he basically, the whole story hijacks the African American experience for this white dude in Alabama, which is quite funny. You know, in the same way as you can totally argue that The Lion King is a pro-segregationist story, because it's like, oh, we don't want them hyenas mixing with us, and see, look, this is what happens when you let the hyenas in. You know, oh, look, it's a slippery slope. So, you know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that you can analyze into these movies. Let's see. I honestly think you're one of the history channels on YouTube that I really like to this day. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I do wish that, you know, I am, that I had have been, you know, like, I mean, I do have some regrets, or, you know, wishful thinking of kind of what, basically kind of directions that I was hoping that my channel could go in, a lot sooner, a lot earlier, and like I would have loved to have networked a lot more with people, effectively networked. Oh, you just got the notification for the stream. Excellent. But yeah, no, like, I mean, oh, an ad's inserted. Are you just getting an ad right now? Apparently. Maybe not. Maybe that's why. Oh, watch this now. Everybody's gonna land in. And it's like, dude, I'm ready to... I've been ranting for an hour and 12 minutes. I didn't even get Building Gundam. But, what was I saying? Oh shit, what was I saying? Remind me in the chat, please. If I don't remember. Typically there are a few ads at the beginning of the stream. Yeah. Oh god, I have lost my... There is a possibility that I too am autistic. I'm actually beginning a journey of discovering that and investigating that with professionals. So jury will be out on that, but we shall see. It would not surprise me in the slightest. But that's a whole other thing. Oh yeah, networking. And yeah, thank you. No, I really do wish that I would... I mean, it's tricky, because like on one hand I'm a really outgoing person, but then on the other hand I'm also like kind of shy. Shy to the people who like I properly respect creatively and stuff. But yeah, like, I mean, I would have hoped that, in a nutshell, I would have hoped to have maybe had the success that Oversimplified has had. You know, that's just saying. You know, that's it in a nutshell. You know, I see the success they had, and I, because I've been doing this before them, and I'm kind of like, I wish that my channel was as big as that, but it is not, and so, oh well. Yeah, I should collab with Mr. B. He's great, makes some really excellent history content. Yeah, I should also reach out more. I mean, I do try and reach out, and I do sometimes get word back from people. Yeah. and like, I mean, I did. Now, it wasn't so much like a big official like YouTube collab, but like I answered I did an interview with Khadija and Bo on one of her videos about masculinity and aggression. Oh, I should remember. That's what we talked about anyway. Um, but like, she's fantastic. But again, like, she's one where, again, I love her to bits. Sorry, love them. My goodness. Ugh. Apologies, Khadija. Them. I love them to bits, and um, there we go. And like, but so they're a person where, like, I've seen their channel. I think they started like just um at the start of COVID, and like, just seeing that well deserved success and growth, but like, me have sitting here, I haven't done it for like 10 years, and seeing people like that, or like, there's another one as well, not going to drop her name, but she did like a whole pile of reaction videos and stuff, and literally her like watching Star Wars for the first time and stuff, and like, just watching the subscribers just, I think part of it, not all of it, but part of it too, is a little bit of geography, in that I think perhaps if I were based down in Dublin, and networking in person, because there's a bit of out of sight, out of mind with some people, and unless you already know them, it can be tricky. Because you see a lot of people kind of based over in like LA and stuff, and like, there's a lot of, you see people at different events and stuff, whereas like, if you're not going out to these events, and like, I'd love to go to VidCon some year, at the moment though I just can't afford it. um and also still in baby mode at the moment, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Let's see. Thought you said Kojima for a second. Oh, no, Khadija and Bo. They are a fantastic YouTuber. They do all sorts of stuff about like society and philosophy and sexuality, and loads of really good gender and all sorts, race, loads of stuff. Highly recommend their channel. And apologies for misgendering you earlier. I thought you said Kojima. Imagine that collab. Oh, that would be amazing. Oh, yeah. Cannot dislike Star Wars. He is super mega woke. I can't dislike Star Wars. He is super mega woke. I can't dislike Star Wars? I mean, like, in what way? Because there's a lot of Star Wars. Oh, yeah. Woke is meaningless term. Yeah. Also, weren't you here posting random hate comments last stream? Oh, is that him? Hey, James Cook. Love you. Woke has just lost all meaning. Like, so many terms and so many concepts that, began in pretty often, like, woke in particular, was from black culture, and as so much of American black culture has been appropriated and ground into all senses of meaningless, because woke originally is like simply the awareness, or being awake to systemic racism. That's it in a nutshell. Being aware that the system, particularly in America, is a white supremacist system that was built at its core by the founding fathers, who a lot of them were slave owners, that's just part of living in America and being woke to that. Like that's what woke was, but now right wingers have just taken the term and thrown it all into whatever they don't like. But like I had an interesting discussion with a guy on Instagram where they were chatting about I hated Rings of Power. It was so woke. I was like, what was woke about it? Is that like Galadriel was sent by Gil-galad to the Undying Lands, and even though she was so much more powerful than him, and it's like, what was woke about that? I kind of found possibly a way of just breaking the whole woke argument. It's like, what's woke about that? Just keep asking them, like, explain to me what's woke, because I think what using the term woke and just go, oh, it's woke, allows people to do is it allows them to complain about things without actually addressing or without actually saying, I don't like that because it's empowering women. I don't like that because it's representing people of color, whereas it's woke, it's giving trans people a voice, whereas if you just go, it's woke, then it's just woke. It's woke. Everyone's woke these days. Get over it. Was woke or literally every time a new movie, game, or show comes out, I see people screaming woke, and it's so tiring. You cannot escape this culture war nonsense. I know, it's stupid. Was woke used in like montage parodies? Cause I used to think it meant high, particularly on weed. No, woke arose, I think, originally in like the 1920s, amongst African Americans, and for decades it remained there, but I think even just in the last 10 years, the first time I remember hearing the term woke was Donald Glover, Childish Gambino in Redbone. So stay woke. That's the first time I remember being aware, being woke to the existence of woke as a term. And of course, me being the white Irish guy, it was like, that's like a new term, is it? Is that, oh no, it's a very old term actually. It's just coming to the forefront now. And so there was like a point where, woke did have power. And this is why it was appropriated and ground into the oblivion, is because there was kind of I think, say, kind of mid to late 2010s, woke did particularly mid kind of 2010s, I think woke did have a stronger kind of use online, but then the right just picked it up and destroyed it, as they do with a lot of stuff. Well, it's not the audiences who are fighting in the culture war, or at least not who are winning and imposing their ideas and standards on the pop culture. If I want to watch the new season of The Boys, it's just, it's liberal propaganda, it's woke. Or if I want to play the Dead Space remake, oh my god, the bathrooms are gender neutral, woke. Oh my god, are they crying about gender neutral bathrooms in Dead Space? Oh my god. There's so much more important things to be worried about in the world right now. Oh, we are living in the end times, folks. My god. Whinging about gender neutral bathrooms and in a futuristic space game. Oh my god. I'm going to watch The Boys, liberal propaganda. It's like, guys, did you watch like all of the boys? Because it's always been there. It's always been there. But what I love about the boys as well is how it pokes fun at corporate liberalism, you know? And like, what's really funny is I don't think people on the right have truly worked out the misuse of their term liberal. Or, you know, when they talk about liberals, and oh, you're a liberal. Like, if they think you're a lefty, they think you're a liberal. It's like, no, okay, no, I don't like liberals either, you know, because liberals are like, well, can we all just like, you know, get along, but like also not do anything, you know, because it's working for me, and as long as it's working for me, then we don't have to change anything. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah. But like what the one that I constantly go back to, in I think it was in the last season of The Boys, and it was, I think they were at one of the like theme parks and stuff, but there was a stand that was selling BLM BLTs, and I was just like, that's like just the sheer cynicism, like they just capture how corporations jump on bandwagons brilliantly, and like it is just such it's sharp satire. Like, it's very on the nose. It's so on the nose, like, you know, where you're like, oh well, that's that person, you know. It's like that movie director is Joss Whedon. We get it. We get it. But still, it's so good. It's so effective in that way. But yeah, it captures so much more than I mean, it's even now just starting to make fun of the superhero genre, and like Marvel's corporate insanity. Like, I just think it's hilarious. And like, in the last season, when a whole pile of right wingers were starting to go, guys, I think they're starting to make Homelander the villain. It was like, starting to? What? You know, it's like you're watching American Psycho, and you're like, guys, I think they're starting to make Patrick Bateman the bad guy here. It's like, what have you been watching? Oh my god, it's just this cool, chaotic anti-hero. It's like, no! He is a horrendous person. He is a narcissistic horror show. You know? Oh my god. Let's see. You know, I don't hold them in the highest regard myself. What? Hold on. It's literally everywhere. And I'm a huge movie and video game fan, so I constantly get these types of videos in my... Yeah, for people like Critical Drink. Yeah. It's been so long now, I can't... Do I need... Oh, Critical Drinker. Is he the guy... Is he the Irish guy as well that has the weird, really dramatic character? I don't trust anybody if they think that this pose is, you know, edgy. Like, if your profile picture is some form of either a real photo or a picture of you sitting like this, it's not as cool as you think it is. And this is coming from a guy wearing a brightly coloured I Am Kenough hoodie. This, all right, even better. This is not as cool as you think it is. Oh dear. Urbercalis Udalk, are you just trolling? You know, I don't hold them in the highest regard, the brown people and so on. Or is that a quote from the boys that I'm missing? I hope it's a quote from the boys. Otherwise, you just being a hilarious troll. That's not even the dumbest thing. There was the one guy who started screaming about pronouns being in Starfield's character customization. Like, one of my favorite ones was if people are going to insist on us not using he or she pronouns, then what do they want us to call them? You just did it automatically. Like, when I was a kid, we understood, well, we didn't understand like non-binary or any of that when we were a kid, but like, you understood that if you didn't know someone's gender, you would just refer to they, them pronouns. Not in that language, and say, oh, we use they, them pronouns. But like when you were a kid, and it's like, oh, my cousin's coming over tomorrow. Oh, cool. What's their name? You don't go, what's his or her name? It's like, what's their name? That is the gender neutral pronoun. Like, ugh. Also, language changes all of the time. Like, so, and when you try to stop language from changing, you're going to fail miserably. Because generally, language trends are set by the younger generation. Namely, like teenagers and 20-year-olds. Even more so teenagers. They set trends. They stop using older phrases. They start using new ones. And they set the trends for how language will change over time. It's brilliant. It's so cool. Let's see. It's the dumbest thing. Which sucks too, since classical liberals who are anything but leftists. Oh, that's the thing. Like the way that I see it, I'm probably going to repeat this in my president's video at the end of the year, hopefully, is the way that I see, say, like, the Republicans and the Democrats at the moment, where the Republicans are like, nope, we're not changing anything. And the Democrats are like, it's such a shame that we're not able to change anything. It's like, like just this kind of, like we'd love to change it, but we just can't. Why not? We just can't. Such a shame. It'd be great if we could change it, but we just can't. Ugh. Message retracted. I didn't read it before you got rid of it. I love the parody of the Pepsi ad with A-Train. Oh, and how they did the girls get it done, girl boss thing. That was so funny. Yes. And the Kardashian Pepsi ad. That was so good. So good. He's the Scottish. Oh, he's Scottish. Ah, yeah. That's right. I'm thinking of another guy. There's another guy who I think he's from somewhere down south, probably Dublin. He's the Scottish guy that pretends to be drunk in his videos and puts on his really annoying drunk voice. Ah, yes. Kind of jumping on the Mr. Plinkett bandwagon and kind of trying to do it that way. Yeah, no. Now that you mention it, I can hear his voice. Lovely. As a profile picture of him wearing sunglasses and drinking Jack Daniels. How cool! Wow! And Ripper, yeah, don't like them at all much. That's just me, Can't stomach foot around them. I don't like to see them up on the screen. There, it's just unpleasant. Well, you're hilarious. You're so funny. That is, that's just great. And yeah, you're in a wee time out there. Bye, Felicia. Speaking of your new president's video, I think you could go more in depth on Jimmy Carter and how he spoke out against Israel's treatment of Palestine and how he fought for civil and gay rights. Absolutely. Also, I do want to mention how, because in my previous one, I kind of talk about how the evangelical vote arose strongly for Reagan, but they actually originally arose for Jimmy Carter. But then once he got in and he wasn't as, hardcore Baptist as they maybe thought that he was, they then were like, all right, well, we're in on this whole voting thing now, but we need someone, more hardcore. And so they ended up with Reagan. Yeah, no, there's a whole pile of extra little things like that I definitely want to do. Because, I'm going to use the original script and, all of the stuff that's already in there will be, but there's just going to be more, and it's it's an ongoing project, that one. And, oh my God, Biden. Oh my God. That's bleak. Windows XP, you're going. Thank you so much. You're going. It's such a shame what's happened to Jimmy Carter recently. He lost his wife and he's in hospice care right now. I mean, yeah, it's sad. And the way that I say that, I sound really heartless. But it's more of a case of, he's had a good long life and he has lived that life to the max. I get less heartbroken by he's in his 90s now, probably. What age is he? Let's see. It's like if a 90-year-old ends up in hospice care, I'm like, yeah, no, that tracks. That makes sense. He is 99 years old. Oh my God! If he lives till October 1st, then he is hitting 100, guys. That's insane. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, he makes it to 100. Yeah, it'd be cool if he makes it to the 100. Poor what's her name didn't make it. Betty White didn't make it to 100. Yeah, that would be cool. I think it was Calvin Coolidge was the president when he was born. He was born before the Great Depression. Which is insane. It's just mad. But yeah. Yeah. Obviously it is sad, and but he's had a good time of it, and he's had a good long life, and his work with the Carter Foundation and stuff above and beyond has been excellent, and him using his voice to speak about Palestine has been great. Certainly is a huge milestone for president to hit. Yeah, because no president has ever hit 100. I think. Well, in the last video, I think. What's his name? Was he still alive? Gerald Ford. I think Gerald Ford. Oh no! He was alive 8 years ago when I made my first. Just mad. 8 years ago, I made the first president's video. Where did that time go? But yeah, I know it was Jimmy Carter last time too. Oh yeah, because he was 96. That makes a lot of sense. Your channel is pretty cool. I like the history videos. Thank you, LPP Studios. Thank you very much. But yeah, folks, on that note, I've been on here now ranting and raving for an hour and 39. And you have been keeping me company. Special thanks. Well, I'll give you all a shout out because you have been keeping me nice and company. Martian Cookie Hunter, thank you so much. Windows XP mapping, as always, coming back. LPP Studios, thanks for popping in at the end, and indeed, and Jazz 900G, thank you. But Member Barry, thank you very much, Member Barry, for your interesting discussion and being here right from the start and probing and pressing with really good questions and points and getting the discussion going. So that is always. As it ended up, I didn't build this because I don't think I'd be able to do this and chat like this. I think I'd be constantly distracting myself. So I might do like some chill live streams building this. But then again, I mean, like, never actually get this built because I'd be distracting myself the whole time. We shall see. And we barely even got chatting about Star Wars, which is hilarious. Always good to pop in for one of your streams, John. Thank you so much, Martian Cookie Hunter. Oh my god, I'm just getting it now. It's like Martian Manhunter, but Martian Cookie Hunter. Hilarious. Anyway, it is midnight here in Ireland, so I am going to go. But a pleasure as always, folks. See you later.